Chugging or choking? There'll be plenty of data next week on Europe's industry, and Sarah and Peter here to guide us through again. Sarah, industrial production data from lots of European countries next week. What are we going to see?
Well, basically, they're just going to tell us that the Eurozone is still struggling. That's the short answer. So
Right.
if we're looking at Germany, the German economy is sort of the firehouse of all of the Eurozone. And that economy started to slow down.
Yeah.
The industrial production number we'll get next week, and industrial orders number we'll get next week,
Right.
both for August, and they're likely to confirm that trend.
Sure.
And sort of what we've been seeing this week as well is that the PMI for the manufacturing sector in Germany is actually slipped into contraction territory, and that's not great. And so it doesn't look like the industrial sector in Germany is going to pick up anytime soon. So we're looking at a soft patch there. So,
Any brighter spots, Pete?
Probably Spain.
Right.
Spain.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Italy and France are still looking pretty weak.
Yeah.
But if we look at Spain, we might get some positive numbers out there.
And here in the UK as well, Sarah, any numbers there?
yeah, well, we had 2 pretty good months, so August will probably be a bit of a flat reading, but it's not going to look any way as bad as in the Eurozone.
Okay. Staying in the UK, the Bank of England is the central bank in action next week. Latest rate decision. Any movement expected, Pete?
I think that the inflation figures that we've had in the meantime since the last no change have been slightly lower than expected.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to get any change this particular round. I mean, the unemployment figures have been great.
Yeah.
We have yet to see that transfer into wage growth.
Yeah.
So I think until we see that, we're not really going to see any much change.
It's interesting because of the central banks, perhaps the BOE is the one where people were expecting rates to move first. But as you say, those inflation figures.
Yeah, but actually Goldman Sachs just had a note out this
Right.
week saying that it looks like the BOE will be the first central bank to start rising rates, and they're looking at the first quarter of next year.
Right.
So it's not earlier in the year. I had some analysts tell me we could be looking already at a November rate hike, but that
Yeah.
seems to be completely off the table for now.
Okay. The ECB, they obviously had their decision this week, but next week Mario Draghi is speaking in the US. What's on the agenda there for him?
Well, it's always interesting to see what Draghi has to say.
Yeah.
And at the October meeting, he didn't really offer anything new when it comes to QE.
Yeah.
He kept the door open, but he didn't really open it further. So anything he'll say on that, or if he confirms that they'll do whatever it takes and all that stuff, I think we'll be looking for comments on that.
Yeah, he's speaking at the Brookings Institution
Yeah.
in Washington. So we'll be looking to see if he can expand on anything that, what the central bank can do next. I mean, is quantitative easing a topic that he'd like to touch on?
Yeah.
I mean, it's debatable. I mean,
It's certainly a topic that the markets like to talk on.
Absolutely. Okay. The Fed itself, of course, has minutes next week as well. What's their latest thinking?
well, they didn't change their considerable time tag that they used to when they're going to actually move on rates.
Right.
At their last policy meeting. That caused a little bit of a surprise. So people will be looking to see, when are the Fed going to move? I mean, we talked about the first quarter for the Bank of England. I think the current thinking is maybe the middle of the year for next year for the Fed, but the people will be passing through those minutes to see what guidance they can get on the timing of the first Fed hike.
Any thoughts on that, Sarah?
Well, I can just refer to the Goldman note I read recently. They're actually saying that they'll push it back till third quarter next year. So I think
Right.
that's a bit off what the general expectations are.
Okay. A lot of talking next week. Be very interesting. Thanks, guys.